ready to get inside the mind of Tom Bilyeu.
The entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The guy behind Quest Nutrition and Impact Theory.
Okay.
We're diving into his interview from the Diary of a CEO podcast.
Okay.
It's a wild ride.
I've heard it.
It covers like everything from like personal growth to like predictions for the future.
Right.
You probably know him for his business success, but this deep dive goes so much deeper than that.
Yeah.
It's really about his unique philosophy and how it can empower you to achieve your goals.
Well, and that's what's fascinating about this deep dive is that Bilyeu doesn't just talk the talk. He's walked the walk.
Right.
He went from being considered an underachiever to building and selling a billion-dollar company.
Yeah.
And what's striking is his belief that anyone can achieve extraordinary things. It's not through some magic formula.
Right.
It's through dedicated effort and skill development.
Yeah, I love how he completely throws out the idea of like relying on talent or luck. Like it's all about consciously choosing to learn and develop new skills.
Yes.
It's almost like rewiring your brain for success. He even compares our brains to muscles, suggesting that the more we exercise them, by learning and adapting, the stronger and more capable we become.
Yeah, it really flips the script on what we think is possible.
Yeah, completely.
For ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a powerful reminder that we all have more potential than we often realize.
Yes.
Instead of getting bogged down by self-doubt,
Yeah.
he challenges us to identify the skills we want to cultivate and commit to that process of mastery.
Yes, and not just for personal success, but how those skills can be used to make a real impact on the world.
Right. And that's where his concept of personal responsibility comes in, right?
Yeah.
He's got this true and wildly optimistic view of it.
Yeah.
And I think it's key to understanding his whole approach to life. He doesn't shy away from the tough stuff.
Nope.
Remember that Kobe Bryant quote he uses? Goos don't block dunks.
Yeah, that's a great example of Bilyeu's mindset.
Yeah.
He's saying, if you become so skilled at what you do, those external obstacles become irrelevant.
Yeah.
It's not about ignoring the challenge, but rising above them through that dedicated effort and mastery. And he applies the same principle to dealing with hardship.
Yeah.
Emphasizing that taking responsibility for your choices, even in the face of adversity, can be incredibly empowering.
It's like he's saying that true freedom comes from owning your actions and decisions rather than feeling like a victim of circumstance.
Exactly.
But let's be real.
Yeah.
We live in a world that can often feel like an anxiety pressure cooker.
Totally.
Even Bilyeu admits to struggling with anxiety.
Right.
He's refreshingly candid about it.
Yeah.
And he shares his strategies for managing it, things like diet, meditation, consciously reframing negative thoughts.
And what's interesting is that he doesn't just throw these out as quick fixes.
Right.
He talks about how dietary choices impact brain chemistry, how meditation can actually help rewire neural pathways, reducing stress, enhancing focus. It's about understanding the science behind these practices and making informed choices to improve your mental well-being.
I especially appreciate his insights on the impact of social media.
Oh, yeah.
He's spot on about the dangers of constant comparison and the pressure to constantly perform.
Yeah.
He even suggests that Web3 might amplify these challenges.
Oh, really?
By adding like a financial layer to the mix.
Interesting.
Imagine people investing in projects or creators feeling the weight of those expectations.
Yeah.
The stakes become even higher.
Exactly. You could have situations where people's entire livelihoods are tied to the success of a Web3 project.
Right.
Potentially leading to increased anxiety and even financial ruin.
Oh, wow.
And he even talks about how features like tokenized communities could contribute to FOMO, that fear of missing out, pushing people to make impulsive decisions they later regret.
Yeah, it's a slippery slope.
It is.
So while Bilyeu acknowledges the potential pitfalls of our hyper-connected world, he also offers a roadmap for navigating it.
Okay.
Prioritizing a healthy diet, practicing mindfulness, being selective about what we consume online. All great starting points.
Sure.
It's about taking control of our digital lives and making choices that support our mental well-being.
Yeah.
What struck you about his approach to finding fulfillment in this kind of environment?
Well, he has this interesting conceptual math equation for fulfillment.
Okay.
He's basically saying it's a combination of hard work, developing valuable skills, and applying those skills in service of a goal that's both exciting and honorable.
Okay.
And it's clear that his passion for storytelling fits perfectly into this equation.
Yeah, Bilyeu's all about using stories to uplift, inspire, and help people grow.
Yeah.
It's a core part of everything he does.
Yeah.
From his podcast to his company to his comic book Neon Future.
It's like he's found a way to connect his passion for storytelling with a mission to make a positive impact on the world.
And it's not just about achieving your own goals. It's about using your skills to contribute to something larger than yourself.
Right.
It's a pretty powerful message.
Yes.
And it ties into Bilyeu's belief in the power of personal responsibility. He's not just talking about taking ownership of your own life, but also about using your abilities to make a difference in the lives of others.
Yes.
So Bilyeu makes a compelling case for finding a purpose that not only ignites your passion, but also allows you to contribute meaningfully to the world.
Yeah.
What kind of goals would fit that description for you?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah, something to think about.
It is.
One thing that really stood out to me in this interview was Bilyeu's perspective on relationships.
Okay.
He's very upfront about the fact that he and his wife, Lisa, made a conscious decision to not have children.
Oh, wow.
They both agreed that a child would inevitably become their top priority, potentially like shifting the whole dynamic of their relationship.
Right.
What do you think about that kind of like radical honesty and self-awareness when it comes to making such a big life decision?
It's definitely a bold move.
Right.
But it really highlights Bilyeu's commitment to prioritizing his marriage.
Yeah.
He firmly believes that it should be your top priority, which actually contrasts with the viewpoint of another guest on the podcast, Lewis Howes.
Interesting.
Who places his mission above his relationship.
Wow, so different approaches.
Totally.
It's a good reminder that there's no one-size-fits-all formula for a successful relationship.
Absolutely.
What works for one couple might not work for another.
Right.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
Bilyeu emphasizes that open communication and shared values are key to navigating these kinds of decisions.
Right.
He and Lisa were on the same page about their priorities, and they were willing to make choices that aligned with their vision for their relationship.
And I think that's where Bilyeu's emphasis on personal responsibility comes into play again. It's not just about making choices, but about understanding the implications of those choices and being willing to live with the consequences.
He's even willing to sacrifice almost everything for Lisa.
Oh, really?
Except for his ambition.
Right. And that's a key point.
Yeah.
He recognizes that ambition is an integral part of who he is. It's a driving force that brings him joy and fulfillment.
Yeah.
It's not something he's willing to compromise on.
Right.
But he's also made it clear that it won't come at the expense of his commitment to his wife.
So it's about finding that sweet spot, that balance between pursuing your passions and nurturing your relationships.
It's not always easy.
Right.
But Bilyeu seems to have figured out a system that works for him and Lisa.
And this brings us back to communication.
Yeah.
Bilyeu stresses the importance of honesty, even when it's uncomfortable.
Right.
And digging deeper to understand the root cause of conflict. Remember that hilarious story he tells?
Yeah.
About the massive argument he had with Lisa over a cup of tea?
Oh.
It turned out the tea wasn't the real issue at all.
Right.
It was just a symptom of something much deeper.
Exactly.
That cup of tea story is a perfect example of how surface-level disagreements can often mask deeper issues.
Yes.
Bilyeu encourages us to get to the heart of the matter. Articulate what's truly bothering us.
Right.
Rather than getting caught up in, like, blaming our partners.
Yeah.
He even suggests trying to summarize the core issue of a disagreement in a single sentence.
That's a good idea.
Right.
It's a simple but powerful technique that can force clarity and lead to more constructive conversations.
Totally.
By boiling things down to their essence.
Yeah.
We can avoid getting lost in the weeds.
Right.
And focus on finding solutions that work for both parties.
And I love his advice about owning our insecurities and flaws within a relationship.
Yeah.
Instead of projecting them onto our partners. Bilyeu suggests we should acknowledge our triggers and communicate our needs in a healthy way.
Yeah.
It's about taking responsibility for our own emotional baggage.
Yeah.
Which can be incredibly freeing.
Right.
So Bilyeu's approach to communication goes way beyond just saying what's on your mind.
Totally.
It's about cultivating empathy, self-awareness, and a genuine desire to understand the other person's perspective.
He's advocating for a deeper level of connection, one that requires vulnerability, honesty, and a willingness to work through challenges together.
So we've talked about Bilyeu's personal philosophy on success, responsibility, and relationships. But things take a bit of a darker turn when he starts talking about his predictions for the future.
Okay.
Drawing on research from experts like Ray Dalio, he expresses concern about potential civil unrest in the U.S.
Oh, wow.
A possible conflict with China.
Okay.
And the destabilizing effects of the war in Ukraine.
He paints a pretty sobering picture.
He does.
Highlighting worrying trends like societal division, economic instability, and the rise of political extremism.
Right.
He even mentions Dalio's updated assessment of the likelihood of civil war in the U.S.
Oh, gosh.
Which has increased from 30% to 40% in just a matter of months.
That's a pretty significant jump.
It is a statistic that should give us all pause.
So Bilyeu's perspective challenges us to think critically about the forces shaping our world and to consider the potential consequences of inaction.
Yeah.
He's not just throwing out these predictions to scare people.
Right.
He's urging us to wake up to the realities we're facing and to start having difficult conversations about how to navigate them.
He sees the war in Ukraine as a potential catalyst for a global food shortage.
Right.
Which could exacerbate existing tensions and further destabilize the global order.
It's a scary thought.
It is.
And he's concerned about China potentially exploiting this crisis
to
expand its influence and undermine the U.S.'s position on the world stage.
It's a complex and worrying scenario.
It is, and it's easy to feel overwhelmed by it all.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is that Bilyeu doesn't give in to despair.
Oh, that's good.
Even in the face of these bleak predictions, he sees glimmers of hope.
Okay.
Particularly in the potential of Web3.
That's right.
He believes that Web3 could be a game changer, a technology that could empower individuals, foster innovation, and create a more equitable and decentralized world.
Yeah, he's especially excited about its potential to revive the middle class.
Oh, interesting.
A key factor in preventing social unrest and promoting economic stability.
He talks about how Web3 could enable creators to connect directly with their audiences, cutting out the middleman and capturing more value for their work.
That would be huge.
Right.
He also sees potential in decentralized finance, which could offer alternative financial systems that are more accessible and less susceptible to manipulation.
By those centralized institutions.
Exactly.
But Bilyeu is also realistic about the challenges.
Right.
He recognizes that Web3 is still in its early stages. And that there are many hurdles to overcome.
Yeah.
He's particularly concerned about its potential to exacerbate existing mental health issues.
Oh, really?
Especially if we don't approach it thoughtfully.
Interesting. What does he say about that?
He brings up some valid points.
Okay.
For example, the constant pressure to be on in the online world could lead to burnout and anxiety.
Right. Always having to be present.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the speculative nature of some Web3 projects could fuel addiction and financial instability.
That's a good point.
It's a reminder that technology is a tool. Its impact depends on how we choose to use it.
So Bilyeu's nuanced perspective reminds us that we can't just blindly embrace new technologies without considering their potential downsides.
Right.
It's a call to action for creators, entrepreneurs, and policymakers to approach Web3 with a sense of responsibility, ensuring that it serves humanity.
Right.
Rather than amplifying existing inequalities.
So while Bilyeu is clearly concerned about the future, he's not throwing in the towel.
Okay.
He's still looking for solutions.
Right.
Still exploring new possibilities and still challenging us to think differently about how we can shape a better world.
That's good.
And that brings us back to Bilyeu's personal journey.
Okay.
He describes himself as someone who wants to do everything with a seemingly insatiable thirst for knowledge and new experiences.
He mentions his love of anime, his desire to learn Greek, his fascination with video games.
It's like he's got a million passions competing for his attention.
It's very relatable.
Right.
He even draws a parallel between his personal life and his approach to business, recognizing that he constantly has to course correct his natural tendency to pursue multiple passions simultaneously.
It's a relatable struggle for many of us.
It is, especially in today's world of endless possibilities.
And his advice for navigating this challenge.
Okay.
Focus on closing doors.
Interesting.
Instead of trying to do everything we need to be selective.
Okay.
identifying the pursuits that truly resonate with us, and letting go of the rest.
Sometimes less is more.
Right.
By focusing our energy and attention on a select few passions, we can achieve greater depth and mastery.
So Bilyeu's journey is a testament to the power of embracing our curiosity, while also recognizing the importance of focus and discipline.
Right.
It's a balancing act that many of us strive for.
Absolutely.
And his insights offer valuable guidance for navigating this complex terrain.
Totally.
It's amazing how Bilyeu manages to juggle all these interests and ambitions, while still maintaining such a strong, grounded relationship with Lisa. He credits her with playing a huge role in his personal growth. Even going so far as to say she's his biggest influence.
Wow.
He describes her as the one person who always believed in him, even when he doubted himself.
It's a powerful testament to the impact a supportive partner can have.
Yeah, and it reminds me of that really emotional anecdote.
Oh, yeah.
Where he's talking about breaking down in tears and telling Lisa that she wouldn't get enough credit for the impact she's had on his life.
Wow.
It really highlights the depth of their connection. And how Lisa has really helped shape his beliefs, his motivations, his outlook on life.
Right.
He clearly values her perspective and he leans on her wisdom.
Yeah, they have this incredible synergy that seems to fuel both their personal and professional growth.
Makes you wonder if having that kind of solid foundation in his personal life has given him the confidence to take bigger risks in his business ventures.
Right. Knowing you have someone who unconditionally supports you can be incredibly freeing.
Totally. Especially when you're pushing boundaries and venturing into uncharted territory.
Yeah. It's like having a safety net.
Yeah.
That allows you to stretch yourself without fear of falling.
And Bilyeu even talks about how Lisa would encourage him to step outside of his comfort zone.
Yeah.
Urging him to take on challenges he might have otherwise avoided.
Right. It's a reminder that we don't have to navigate our journeys alone.
Totally.
Having a mentor, a partner, a friend who believes in us and pushes us to grow can make all the difference.
Those kinds of relationships can be transformative.
They can.
They can help us to see our potential, overcome our self-doubt, and achieve things we never thought possible.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
We have.
Bilyeu's thoughts on personal responsibility, his approach to relationships, his concerns about the future, and his belief in the power of Web3.
But before we wrap things up, I want to circle back to something he said that really stuck with me.
Okay.
He describes himself as someone who wants to do everything. But worries about spreading himself too thin.
Right. Does that resonate with you at all?
Absolutely. I think a lot of us can relate to that feeling. Of having a million passions and not enough time to pursue them all.
Totally.
Bilyeu has achieved incredible success in multiple areas. But he still wonders if he could have accomplished even more by focusing on one thing at a time.
Right. It's a fascinating dilemma.
It is.
It raises some important questions about how we define success and fulfillment.
Exactly. Should we strive for mastery in one field or embrace the breadth of our curiosity and explore multiple passions?
Is it better to be a specialist or a generalist?
Right.
Bilyeu doesn't offer a definitive answer.
No.
But his introspection challenges us to think deeply about our own values and priorities.
It does.
What brings us the most joy and satisfaction? What kind of legacy do we want to leave behind?
And I think that's a perfect note to end on.
Yeah.
This deep dive into the mind of Tom Bilyeu has given us so much to think about.
It has.
It's challenged our assumptions. Sparked our curiosity.
Absolutely.
And hopefully inspired us to take action in our own lives.
Whether it's his emphasis on personal responsibility, his practical tips for communication, or his inspiring story of transformation, there's a lot we can learn from Bilyeu's unique perspective.
He reminds us that true fulfillment doesn't come from chasing external validation, but from aligning our actions with our values and striving to make a meaningful contribution to the world.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, we encourage you to keep reflecting on Bilyeu's insights and consider how you might apply them to your own life.
What are your passions?
What skills do you want to cultivate?
What kind of impact do you want to have?
And remember, the journey of self-discovery and growth is ongoing.
That's right.
There's always more to learn, more to explore, and more to achieve.
So keep diving deep, keep questioning, and keep striving to become the best version of yourself.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, happy exploring.